Mav's Coffee Clarity with Denise is brought to you in partnership with Drive Media and Consulting and their premier sponsors. Subscribe on your favorite streaming platforms and share. If you just found us, welcome. And if you're a regular, welcome back. Denise DiGrigoli has spent her life in the creative industries as an entrepreneur, helping people transform their visions into thriving businesses, working with individuals and teams to find their purpose and live their life vibrantly. On her pod, Denise delivers business intel and life hacks with wit and wisdom in short shots like a strong espresso with a solid sense of humor. Enjoy this episode of Mav's Coffee Clarity, and here's Mav.
Welcome, my friends. You're on Mav's Coffee Clarity with Denise. We're a show designed to move you forward in work, life, and self-care. And come on, who doesn't need that? Every week, I interview some fascinating people from all walks of life, creators, doers, forward-thinking people. And on the weeks that I'm not interviewing someone incredible, it's just me spilling the beans, some maverick wisdom. Why? Because I believe we've all been a maverick for a minute, a moment, or a lifetime. Today, my friends, is a special anniversary edition. So we're going to change it up a little bit today. That's right. I'm celebrating my silver anniversary. And my spouse, Troy Amuso's in the house. We've been getting a lot of questions, babe, about working and living together for 25 years. But before we go down that rabbit hole, I also want to tell all of our listening audience, first of all, thank you for being here. If you're new, welcome. And if you're a regular, welcome back. This is going to be a fun ride today. Mav's Coffee Clarity is getting ready to celebrate 1 year. So I actually have to give it up to my intern who said, why don't you do an anniversary show right before we celebrate 1 year of Mav's Coffee Clarity? A lot of anniversaries today. Welcome, hon. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Glad to have you back.
I'm glad to be here.
We're having tea today.
It's not easy for me to get on the show. So,
well, it seems self-serving, didn't it? But okay, we had a lot of questions.
Happy anniversary, by the way.
Thank you. Would you still say yes again, my friend?
Absolutely.
You would?
Of course I would.
Did Ava pay you to say that?
No, nobody paid me to say that. Nope.
Well, I actually, when we started talking about doing this, I did some research, of course. And I said to Olivia, do you think that's a really good idea? And she said, yes, actually, people have given us some questions. And I was like, really? Were you keeping that quiet? And she said, no. So I went through a list of questions. I was like, oh, some of these we can't say online. But I am going to start off. We have 3 different questions that she and I kind of vetted down.
Before you say the questions, I just wanted to just say one thing.
Did I look gorgeous? It's very smart.
You look beautiful as ever. Beautiful as ever.
Very smart, babe.
I want to say happy anniversary to Mav's Coffee Clarity as well.
Oh, thank you. Well, you've been very helpful. I think you did a lot of the equipment research, and you kept me from flying out of my skin on certain days when we were in the startup mode. I have to give it up to you. And you've made it easy and compactable. So,
it's been an adventure.
I guess it's teammanship. Oh, we're going to get to the questions. But I did my research, my friends, and do you realize that only 33% of the marriages make it to 25 years? Is that crazy?
Yeah, that's crazy.
No wonder they call it silver. You almost have to have silver hair to get here. But you have no hair, babe. What happened here? Don't you dare say it was because of me that you have no hair.
Listen, I've made it 25 years with you, which actually has been pretty effortless, really. So
again, I think Ava's just writing the checks.
Yeah, it's been a great adventure, and I want to do 25 more years, God willing, of course.
Sounds like jail time. You want to do 25 more years?
I don't know. Probably some of the thinning of my hair.
Well, there's really none.
Contributed to the adventure.
It's like a wax floor right now.
The removal of it was just a necessity.
You said I lost so much from her. Screw it. Let me just shave the rest off and wax it.
Right. Exactly.
Well, you guys, if you're listening to the pod on Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud, you got to go over to YouTube so you can check out his hair or lack up. Okay. So the truth is we have been married 25 years and we have been working together in entrepreneurial pursuits for those 25 years. So this question is, How do you live and work together without driving each other crazy, not only for 1 year, but for 25 consecutive years? I'm going to let you handle that.
Well, I would start by saying, like many things, it's a day at a time process, a day at a time. I think working together certainly I think I speak for both of us, but
Now you're talking for me? This is what happens after 25
all
years.
right.
You just start
Well,
talking
see,
for me. You know I can overtalk you.
I think that, yeah, you can definitely overtalk me. I'm sure everybody watching that knows you knows that's probably the case.
Easy. So we make it another 25. Go ahead.
What was the question again?
The question was, how do you live and work together without driving each other crazy, not only for 1 year, but 25 consecutive years?
Working together is, as a husband and wife.
First of all, I think you need to back it up and tell people what we do, because people are probably wondering, like, are they throwing the pizzas together? Or are they making the coffee?
Well, I figured your audience probably knew what you do, but aside from Mav's Coffee Clarity,
right,
which has been a
labor of love
for the last year, but for 25 years, I mean, we've worked together in a fine art business called Troy's. What's the name of our business?
Troy Fine Art Services, Inc.
Thank you. Troy Fine Art Services is a business that now is a purely art conservation business, restoring paintings, and which is something that I've done for my whole career. But
another episode you guys can see.
But along the way, after you came out of your career, when we first met, I mean, Denise and I met and literally talked about our business interests amongst our life interests for, I don't know, 4 or 5 hours the first night we actually first met.
Actually, it was 6 hours we talked, because my friend Patty was keeping track because she was dying to go home. Right. And she said, why have you been talking to that guy for 6 hours? And I didn't even realize it was 6 hours.
Yeah, that was really,
yeah. Okay.
So from that point on, I mean, once we got together and we got married, then we immediately jumped into business together. And
I thought you were going to say we jumped into bed.
I'm trying to
tricky.
To keep it clean. Trying to keep it clean.
We did not jump into bed right away. Oh my God, too much information. Okay,
yeah,
go ahead.
For sure.
TMI.
No, so we started Troy Fine Art Services. We've gone through different renditions of that business.
Yeah.
Having art galleries and conservation framing and doing corporate art projects, outfitting corporate office spaces with
we had
multitudes of artwork. And,
many evolutions in the business over 25 years. Yeah.
And of course, that's a creative business. So there's lots of creative energies bouncing back and forth. So the key to working together successfully for all that time without driving each other crazy is some of the time you drive each other crazy, but along the way, you kind of whittle it down to kind of who's responsible for what. And that definitely helps. And then trying your best to turn the business switch off when you're home and spending
which
time
gets
together,
rough. Which gets rough. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a challenge. It's
so
challenging.
I would have to add to that. If we were going to spill the bean, I would say accept and allow. I would say allow each other to be who you are and accept, which wasn't always easy for me because I'm like a change agent wanting everyone to be my way. Did I just say that?
Well, I think another thing I'll just add in too is that, Denise and I are, we are very similar in our ultimate goal, both in business and in life.
What's our ultimate goal? You're getting to the end of the show, right in the middle of the show.
No, I don't want to get into what our ultimate goal is, but just the energy of.
That's not a bean you're going to spill right now.
Our mission is often the same, but how we get there can be different, and I think that's probably pretty typical with a lot of, not only a lot of people who are together and married and couples and so on. But probably business partners as well. Everybody has kind of their own vision. So, and how to get there may be a little bit different. So I think when you figure that out and you learn to kind of accept each other's views and ideas and figure out how to kind of melt them together for the common good overall,
That's a long-winded answer
is a
to,
key.
did I drive you crazy?
Is a key.
Yeah. Well, you drove me crazy. I'm going to be honest.
Well, I probably drove you more crazy than you drove me crazy because you're a little more hard-headed than me.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow. That one hurt. That's a real bean. But do you think that, I think in particular, we're very opposite. As much as people see us as the same, I think we're like opposites attract.
Yeah.
And even though like every horoscope going would say that we're not compatible, I feel like we found a common ground, like you say. And I think that has to do with that we really respect not only each other's moral compass and those kind of goals, but we really have a good time creatively. It's like, and we enjoy similar interests. So how did he not drive me crazy? Well, 5 cups of coffee in and just raising my voice. I don't know. Sometimes I got my way. Not always. I think it's just working together and being open-minded and being respectful of each other's interests is how we didn't drive you. And always looking for something new. It's like you and I are always willing to try something new. And I think the serial entrepreneurs and us say, well, hey, if it's not going to work this way, let's try it that way. Let's not give up. Hey, if it's not going to work, be patient. You would say that a lot to me. I'm not very patient. I don't know what, yeah. So I do think opposites attract. And I think, I will say one thing. Oftentimes when I've told people over the years that we work together, especially now, 25, like, oh my gosh, I could never work with my partner. I would kill him. And I say to myself, I scratch my head, like, didn't you marry your best friend? Like, if you have somebody in your life that you don't want to be around, you want to kill him, this is the wrong partner, my friends. No. Now, I'm not saying everybody has to, work with their spouse in order to have the most fabulous life, but I think there's a deep respect for friendship there. And I can't imagine.
There's a trust level too.
Yeah.
That's, I think it's hard to come by in a strictly business relationship. I mean, I know there's businesses, it kind of falls under the heading of family business. But if you just look at, there's definitely some rockin' businesses that have been run by husband and wives, created by husbands and wives and so on. So,
well, there's so many we could say today.
I mean, I think being husband and wife working together is certainly a special chemistry. Not everybody has that chemistry, and that's not a bad thing.
Right. That's true.
It is a special chemistry, and some people are either have completely talk about opposites attract. Some people just have such complete different interests in business. Somebody might be really interested in finance, and the other person might have like no interest in finance, or someone might be super creative and the other person is just all about numbers or letters, and there's no creativity there. So I think some people just don't have the opportunity to be connected in business together. But I agree. The people that say, God, I could never work with my partner because, we'd hate each other. Yeah, I have a hard time understanding that.
Yeah, big time. I don't understand that. And I guess, too, because I am so family oriented and I'm so passionate about everything I do, yes, you can't take it home after 5, but my creativity doesn't stop, And now with the way we work today, it's like you can start and stop your day almost any time, especially with some of the work I do now. I feel like, yeah, it definitely comes down to respecting friendship and interest and just being interested in the other person. Like, I'm interested in what you do, even though our business has evolved now and I don't actually work on the art restorations, right? I'm sort of in the background with the admin and the marketing and some of the other things that go on to support the business.
So that's like, before you jump there, I just want to add, that's also part of it, is that I think it's really important, and anybody that's out there that's thinking of starting a business as in a partnership with your significant other, is have a good sense of who's going to do what. like you and I do very different things within our business. And, that's important.
And I think we allowed each other to evolve. So we had retail stores, we had retail conservation and framing stores, we had art galleries, we had exhibitions, we had corporate art, and now we're here. So I'm really a consultant in my regular role, and I'm over here at Mavs Coffee Clarity having a fabulous time. So it's almost like now in our business, I handle different things, but I'm definitely a little less involved than I was when we had retail stores, for example.
Right. And the same with Troy Fine Art. Like we don't, as you say, we don't have retail presence anymore. We don't have a framing presence or art galleries.
Oh, thank God. That was a soul burnout.
We're in a, spending our time scheduled in a studio and only meeting with clients by appointment. So it's a whole different dynamic than it's been over the years in the past.
So early on building a business, the next question is, how did you get past the startup, and who was more stubborn than the next? I don't know. I don't get that question. Are you stubborn?
I think we just covered a lot of that, but
yeah, I don't think you're Yeah, you are kind of stubborn.
Listen, I can sit here in good nature and say I can be very stubborn.
I wonder who wrote that question in. Somebody knew.
I'm a Virgo, and I'm
I'm going to ask Olivia. Who wrote that question?
I can definitely see things a certain way, but and of course you pick on me a lot for my perfectionism, but
right.
I
always say, coming out of the event and trade show industry and fashion industry, done is better than perfect. This throws him into a quandary.
I see it in art conservation when you're restoring paintings that sometimes,
that's
really
true.
No matter what their value is, if done is not always better than perfect. For me, it's got to be as absolutely as good as it can be. So,
well,
that's a struggle I emotionally go through sometimes. It can literally be painful to have that energy within you that when you look at something with a sharp eye, you see every little detail, and you have to make that choice. Am I going to be flex on this and move on, or am I going to be perfectionist on this and go back in and rework it and make it better?
Well, I'd have to say you do that in our relationship too. You're always looking to make it the best it can be. I kind of say, let's go duct tape it and get on the road.
That's true. It's true.
Duct tape it up. We're ready to roll. All right. So what's the greatest lesson you've both learned working and living together? Wow. So many.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
don't give up.
I when you mentioned earlier the percentage of marriages that survive, and you think it's less than 50% now. We're in 35% of marriages that survive. That's kind of a sad number when you think about it. It's great for us, and great for everybody else in that percentage. The life lesson that I think that's part of it, which is don't give up. Like people that are in that, other huge percentage of marriages that don't make it. It's just like, don't give up so easy. I mean, you have to fight through, not fight with each other, but you have to see things through. And I think when you're in business together, you learn, you come up, listen, every business, especially from a startup point, goes through some really challenging moments. It's a roller coaster ride. You're going to go through successes. You're going to go through flat periods. You're going to have, too many employees and not enough work. You're going to have too much work and not enough employees. You're going to be,
I feel like it's how we are now.
You're going to be making, hopefully making, a decent amount of money or a lot of money. And sometimes cash flow is going to be really tight. Sometimes your tax bill is going to come in way more than you anticipated it to be. I mean, you come up on challenges. There's how many hours in a day. Sometimes you can work 7 days a week, especially when you're starting out. So the challenge is to see it through, because, 25 years later, I can say both in business and in our relationship, as in our marriage, I couldn't be prouder of being here today and say, yeah, we're married 25 years. And I look back on it and say, I don't have any regrets at all.
Wow.
In anything that
I feel like Ava really wrote the check today.
But
Woo!
you have to be patient and you have to be persistent. And that goes for your relationship too. You just can't bail out when things start getting, for whatever the reason are.
I read something a long time ago because I, growing up, saw my grandparents work together in family business. Your parents work together in family business. I don't know. But it was also like, the one thing I read was ask for space. And that you and I do well together. Like, we spend a lot of time together, my friends. But when we need space, we just take it. Which means, I might go off on a jaunt with my friends at, college reunion. You might spend time playing a guitar. I think asking and taking space is important. I think that's been, and creative space for me in particular, right? I need some quiet downtime.
I think you need to have your outlets, right? So whatever they are, if it's, cycling or walking or working out or, painting or playing an instrument or, skiing or whatever.
But then I learned to ski together.
Some people like to just sit and read in quiet, which is great. Maybe it's doing meditation. I mean, you definitely need to, I don't think living a life of, taking off and going out and sitting at a bar room, all night is a particularly good outlet. But I'm just throwing that in.
Reflecting on a prior self.
But I think, you have to have like a good outlet.
Yeah.
I think so. The things that you do apart, you're right. It's like skiing has always been a great outlet, but we ski together. We bike ride together. Mm-hmm. Sometimes we walk into the gym together, but we go in our separate directions.
Yes.
And then come back out together. So, having some other things to do on your own, I think is important. So,
moving right along, another question we got was, where do these nicknames come from? So, in particular, I heard you call him Fox. Where does that come from? And there's a variety of nicknames for me, from Mama de Griggs to Mav to Sweetie. So I'm going to start off with the Fox, because a lot of people ask that, and that really is just a name between you and I. You made it pretty clear, like you don't want everyone writing in and calling you the Fox.
I don't want people calling me the Fox. No, I love the Fox. I love the fact that you call me the Fox.
There's only one uncle on the planet that's allowed to call him the Fox.
That's true. That's true. But yeah, the Fox is definitely between you and I.
And it's the Fox.
It's the Fox, and it's not because you think I'm foxy.
But you're cute.
It's a whole different thing.
Yeah.
And most people that hear that don't realize
that. Yeah, they think I'm saying the Fox for foxy reasons. Yeah. So the Fox comes from when we were first dating. We were living in Connecticut and New York, Troy in New York, me in Connecticut. And this was in the phone bill. You were charged by the minute. I mean, we had like $300-$400 phone bills just from our talks, because I traveled for business and he was starting his own gig in Westchester. And I remember one day you were telling me some story, and you were really passionate about the facts and figures of growing up Italian American and what happened and what didn't happen. I don't know. And then I gave some compelling argument to why I was disagreeing with you, or saying you better knock it off because you're going to dig yourself into a big old foxhole that you can't get out of, Fox. And that's kind of how it stuck in and around the lengthy telephone calls of us philosophizing and visualizing of what we were going to be. Of course, all along saying, don't get too attached to me because I'm starting my own business and I'm going to be doing blah, blah, blah. I'm not getting married.
Right.
Yeah. You just gave it a right?
I think it was actually...
That was like a downtrodden right. All right.
No. Because I was thinking, because I think how it actually went down is when we were talking, I was giving it was either I was giving my opinion on something, and then I was starting to talk then I was picking up that you weren't buying it or liking it or something to that
but effect. He couldn't see my facial features back then. No cell phones.
I was beginning to, this is early in our relationship, and I was kind of trying to backpedal out of it a little bit. And you totally picked up on it and said, you should stop now because you're just digging yourself into a big old foxhole. And then...
That's true.
And then
but it had to do with like being like family business and being some of the generational things we experienced between being Italian American. And I don't know. Yeah, but it stuck.
And then it stuck. And
It's
then
stuck.
anytime there was any questionable thing between the two of us, you would say, listen, Fox. You would
Right.
say, listen, Foxy, because it was Foxy for a while.
It was.
And then it turned into the Fox.
Now it's the Fox.
And it's been Fox written in stone ever since.
Right. Well, there's a few others that we say at home, but we're not going to say them in a line. But it's really the Fox.
Yeah, it's
All
really-
right. And how about Mav?
Well, Mav, a lot of people probably don't know the story of Mav because Mav really is a nickname. I mean, when I talk, Ava, our daughter, for those that don't know, we have a daughter named Ava, who's now 22 years old. But when I talk to Ava so much of the time, or if I text her or something and I'm texting her about something to do with you and I, mom and dad, I'll refer to you as Mav to Ava. I'll say Mav and I are going to be up in the Berkshires this weekend or something like that. I mean, that's to the level Mav. So Mav's Coffee Clarity has a whole background to it that probably most people don't know about.
Well,
but the way Mav came about is, I'll try to make it a quick story, is I think at one point Ava was at our house when she was in middle school with one of her girlfriends, and they were talking about some girl that was like giving them trouble in their little circle of friends or something. And
they were picking on their eyebrows. It was so rude. And I was like, really? This girl is talking about your eyebrows, obviously has no manners. And they were lamenting and going on and on. They couldn't see the girl and what they were going to do about the girl. And I was like, listen, you need to tell her that her mother did not train her correctly, okay? We don't talk about people in that fashion, and we don't behave that way. It's rude. It's simply not acceptable. And you guys knock it off. Move on. We have greater things in the world to be worried about. She doesn't like who cares? And one of Ava's friends at the time was like, wow, Ava, your mom is a savage. And back then, savage was some of the urban lingo like on fleek, right?
Right.
And so it went from savage to mavage, mom savage to Mav. And Ave would say to her friends, I don't know if Mav's going to like that. But then as I moved on and practiced some stage performing and stand-up comic, and it kind of became my personality, right? It's like, just tell it how it is. Yeah. Be kind.
That kind of evolved into its own caricature.
Just be kind and be yourself, and, don't worry about telling it how it is. Maverick wisdom. That's how I look at it. That's Mav. And our ski family calls me Mama de Griggs, because when the kids would go skiing, I would also be out there prior to maving out, making sure everyone had their food and making sure everybody, was well attended to when we were having our lunch, and making sure no one was getting bullied on the mountain. I'd be like, no, we're not accepting any of these bully behaviors.
Mama de Griggs is really just another format of Mav.
Yeah, it's just the younger version.
That came before Mav.
Right, it came before Mav.
Yeah.
So any tips as we wind down our 25th wedding anniversary? Happy anniversary to you. We are going to be going to a museum, actually, my friends. That's how we're celebrating. And next year, we're going to take a little trip to Italy.
See that? Now look at that. We've been in business for many years together. It revolves around art. I mean, separate of the podcast and some of the other consulting business that you do. We've been in this art business for really our whole marriage.
Right.
And what are we doing on our 25th wedding anniversary?
We're going to the Clark.
Going to the Clark Art Museum.
We're going to see the Degas exhibit. Yeah. Cool, right?
Just kind of awesome.
Yeah. But no, we're definitely trying to spin our trip to Italy, but next year, because we got stuff to do prior to that.
Right.
All right. So listen, any tips that you want to leave the audience with that are thinking about not only being married, but starting a life together, working together?
I would say, again, working together as husband and wife is an awesome thing. I mean, I can't imagine not, because I know I can always rely on you. And I mean that. Like, I know in the back of my brain that my business partner is the person who I trust, rely, love more than anybody on the planet. So it's like, that's a pretty cool thing. So if you're together and you're thinking about maybe starting a business, I can't recommend it anymore. I mean, it's an awesome thing. But just remember to be patient, be persistent, and see it through.
And I'm going to add, kiss each other goodnight, no matter how mad you are. Allow, invite, and don't keep score, my friends. When the going gets rough, have a coffee. Peace out. Mav has got to get back to work for season 2. Hey, that's a wrap for today, my friends. Thanks for listening, subscribing, and staying connected with me. Head on over to DeniseDiGregoli.com and learn a little bit more about my creative and strategic consulting services. While you're there, drop your name on the contact page. Sign up for my bi-weekly brew. It's fresh ideas delivered to your inbox a couple times a month for clarity, creativity, and better communication. It's based on my 3 decades as an entrepreneur, helping other people and businesses move forward. It's great business intel and life hacks that you can use for work, life, and self-care. And come on, who doesn't need that nowadays? Have a great rest of your day. Peace out, my friends. Mav has got to get back to work.